Welcome to Hong Kong Brief. The content of the briefing includes: Hong Kong stocks hit 3-week high as Tencent, NetEase extend recovery, BYD gains. Hong Kong home prices fall to lowest since 2017 as rents rise. Philippines emerges as center of Asia online shopping scams. Law Connect swoops late in thrilling finish to Sydney-Hobart race. In the hawk-dove ornithology of China policy, consider the drongo. Hong Kong stocks hit 3-week high as Tencent, NetEase extend recovery, BYD gains. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong stocks rose for a second day to a 3-week high, led by gains in top Chinese technology leaders and electric car makers. The Hang Seng Index climbed 1% to 16,791.36, while the tech index jumped 1%. Foreign investors bought onshore-listed shares by the most in a month. Hong Kong home prices fall to lowest since 2017 as rents rise. Bloomberg. Home prices in Hong Kong have reached their lowest point in nearly 7 years as high interest rates deter buyers from purchasing properties. In contrast, rental prices have continued to rise, reaching their highest level in 4 years. The expensive borrowing costs have led buyers to opt for renting instead, while the government's efforts to attract foreign professionals to the city have also boosted the rental market. Home prices may rise by around 5% next year if interest rates fall and the government removes more property cooling measures, while rents are expected to increase by 10% in 2024. Sellers are struggling to find buyers, leading property firms to offer discounts at new projects. Philippines emerges as center of Asia online shopping scams. Financial Times. Shoppers in the Philippines are falling victim to online scams, with more than one-third surveyed in a recent report saying they had been cheated or defrauded online. The 2023 Asia Scam Report found the Philippines had a scam rate of 35.9%, the highest among 11 countries surveyed. Mainland China was second with 27.2%, while South Korea had the lowest rate at 4.2%. Police said Filipinos lost more than $2.8 million in shopping scams in the first 9 months of 2023. The report found Filipinos were easy targets because they respond too quickly to sellers' demands. Law Connect swoops late in thrilling finish to Sydney-Hobart race. South China Morning Post. Law Connect, an Australian supermaxi yacht, has taken line honors in the Rolex Sydney-Hobart yacht race after pipping rival Andu Comanche to the post by just 51 seconds. The two boats had jostled for position throughout the race, with Law Connect eventually outwitting Andu Comanche in the final stretch. Law Connect had been trailing for much of the race and skipper Christian Beck said he thought there was no way the team would be able to win. This is Law Connect's first victory in the race, having been runner-up in the 3 previous editions. In the hawk-dove ornithology of China policy, consider the drongo. Financial Times. The author of this article, a former diplomat, describes himself as a drongo rather than a hawk or a dove when it comes to his stance on China. He explains that being a drongo means being anti-Chinese Communist Party, CCP, rather than anti-Chinese. He argues that attitudes towards China should not be extreme and that cooperation on issues such as climate change and global health should still be pursued. However, he also believes that decoupling in certain areas, such as telecommunications and data, is necessary for security reasons. Hong Kong's former second-largest opposition party shuts down. Japan Times. The Civic Party, once one of Hong Kong's prominent opposition groups, has closed its doors and cleared its headquarters. The party was founded in 2006 and consisted of lawyers, academics, and professionals who aim to promote democratization in Hong Kong. The closure of the party reflects the changing times and political landscape in the city. Global bond rally spreads on Fed rate cut bets, markets wrap. Yahoo! A global bond rally spread to Asia Thursday as investors positioned for anticipated Federal Reserve interest rate cuts. Asia's junk bonds are making a comeback while China property debt flounders. South China Morning Post. Asian junk bonds could be an attractive investment opportunity for credit investors in 2024 as bond defaults decline and global borrowing costs decrease. Losses in funds that invest in Asian junk bonds have narrowed in recent months, and investors are betting that the Federal Reserve will lower borrowing costs next year, easing funding strain for junk-rated borrowers such as Chinese developers. The resilience of the asset class has been somewhat overlooked in recent years due to ample funding available in local markets. The expectation for Fed rate cuts in 2024 could encourage high-yield investors, and a smaller net supply of new bonds could improve market technicals, according to Goldman Sachs. Bonds catch up to stock rally on auction demand, markets wrap. Bloomberg. Asian bond markets rallied as investors positioned themselves for anticipated interest rate cuts by the U.S. Federal Reserve. Australian and New Zealand bonds rose, wiping off more than 6 basis points from their 10-year yields. Furthermore, Germany's yields plummeted to a fresh low for 2023. The gains were supported by high demand for 5-year Treasury notes, which is a sign investors are keen to lock in yields before the expected rate cuts. First FT, Global Defense Order Surge, FT analysis shows. Financial Times. The order books of the world's largest defense companies are near record highs after growing more than 10% in 2 years due to geopolitical tension. An analysis by the Financial Times of 15 defense groups showed their combined order backlogs were $777.6 billion in 2022, up from $701.2 billion in 2020. In the first half of 2023, combined backlogs at these companies stood at $764 billion. Revitalize Hong Kong's former new towns for Northern Metropolis to succeed. SCMP opinion. The University of Hong Kong's Master of Science in Urban Design and Transport (MUDT) program is taking a holistic approach to urban planning in the region. The interdisciplinary degree, one of the first of its kind in Asia, aims to go beyond traditional urban planning degrees by focusing on the wider social, economic, and environmental issues of city growth. The MUDT program explores how transport and mobility can enhance opportunities, convenience, health, and accessibility across a wider region, rather than just focusing on a specific area or district. Hong Kong must be ready for Lunar New Year after festive holiday woes. SCMP opinion. Hong Kong is experiencing a decline in tourism and consumption this Christmas due to a combination of a high number of outbound trips and a decrease in inbound trips. The imbalance is reflected in figures from the Immigration Department, which show that over the first 3 days of the holiday, there were 1.32 million outbound trips, exceeding pre-pandemic levels by more than 20%, while there were only 470,648 inbound trips from the mainland and overseas. This trend is fueled by revenge travel and spending, as well as a perceived better value for money and a more favorable exchange rate. The catering industry has reported a double-digit decrease in business during the holiday period, and some shopping malls were noticeably less crowded. The government must take urgent action to attract visitors and locals and ensure the city remains competitive and appealing throughout the year. Hong Kong #fight against scams needs support. SCMP opinion. Hong Kong's Office of the Communications Authority has announced a new system that uses hashtags to verify the identity of mobile service providers when they send text messages to customers. The system aims to block potential scam text messages from unregistered senders. Under the SMS Sender Registration Scheme, dedicated sender IDs will be available for use by network providers and banks. The scheme is part of wider efforts to fight cybercrime in Hong Kong, which has seen a surge in all types of scams in recent years. However, the scheme does not help intercept messages sent through platforms operating outside the control of the authority, such as WhatsApp. U.S. House panel targeting Chinese influence makes its mark, to mixed reviews. South China Morning Post. The U.S. House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party is celebrating its first anniversary on January 10. The committee is led by Representative Mike Gallagher, a Republican China hawk from Wisconsin, and Representative Raja Krishnamurti, an Asian American from Illinois and the committee's lead Democrat. The committee has faced criticism for stoking fears of a U.S.-China war and for its simplistic view of the U.S.-China relationship, while supporters argue that it is raising awareness of threats to U.S. economic and national security. The committee has focused on issues such as human rights abuses in China, economic coercion, and supply chain concerns. It has made use of communication tools and strategies to spread its message, including holding hearings in different parts of the U.S. and issuing press releases. The committee's recommendations have been limited by its lack of legislative power, but it has the ability to name and shame companies and individuals. Greetings, viewers. It's your favorite observer from the 6 Degrees world, Dr. Six, back with another round of news for your amusement. Let's dive right into the headlines. First up, Hong Kong stocks are on the rise as top Chinese tech leaders and electric car makers continue to recover. It seems like the market is buzzing with excitement, and foreign investors are joining in on the action. Who doesn't love a good comeback story? On the flip side, home prices in Hong Kong are hitting rock bottom while rental prices continue to soar. It's a tough time for buyers, but the rental market is loving the attention. Maybe it's time to consider becoming a professional renter instead of a homeowner. It's all about flexibility, right? In other news, the Philippines is unfortunately becoming known as the center of online shopping scams in Asia. It's a harsh reality for shoppers in the country, with a high scam rate of 35.9%. Let's all take a moment to appreciate the art of cautious online shopping and remember to never respond too quickly to sellers' demands. On a more exciting note, Loconnect, an Australian supermaxi yacht, has won the prestigious Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race by a mere 51 seconds. Talk about a thrilling finish. It just goes to show that every second counts, even on the high seas. Now, let's talk about China. In the hawk-dove ornithology of China policy, there's a new player on the field, the drongo. No, not the bird, but a term used by a former diplomat to describe those who are anti-Chinese Communist Party, CCP, rather than anti-Chinese. It's all about finding that delicate balance between cooperation and security. Let's hope the drongo doesn't get tangled up in its own feathers. In a surprising turn of events, the Civic Party, once a prominent opposition group in Hong Kong, has closed its doors. Times are changing, my friends, and the political landscape is shifting. It's a reminder that nothing lasts forever, not even political parties. Now, let's talk finance. Global bond markets are rallying as investors eagerly await anticipated interest rate cuts by the U.S. Federal Reserve. It seems like everyone wants a piece of the action. And speaking of bonds, Asian junk bonds might be making a comeback as bond defaults decline and borrowing costs decrease. Who knew junk could be so enticing? In the defense world, it's boom time. The order books of the world's largest defense companies are near record highs, thanks to geopolitical tension. It seems like conflict is good for business. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. Shifting gears, the University of Hong Kong's Master of Science in Urban Design and Transport program is taking urban planning to the next level. They're focusing on the wider social, economic, and environmental issues of city growth, because let's face it, urban planning isn't just about pretty buildings and efficient transportation. It's about creating a livable, sustainable future for all. And finally, Hong Kong is feeling the pinch this festive season. Outbound trips are soaring, while inbound trips are dwindling. It's a tale of revenge travel and perceived better value for money. The government needs to step up its game if it wants to keep the party going. That's all for today, folks. Remember, these headlines are just the tip of the iceberg. If you have any thoughts or questions about the news, feel free to share. What's on your mind? Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.